This outcome is part of the findings of the research project Spatial Justice in Times of Urban Transition, SITO Transitions. Our research from August 2017 till November 2020 was funded by the UK's Department for International Development through its East Africa Research Fund. In order to understand how complex urban land markets influence spatial justice within the current urban transition in East Africa, we studied 4 cities in Uganda and Somaliland as and within integrated systems of given political economies.
During the project, I learned that privatization of land markets dominated by real estate agencies, both those that work formally and informally, have really increased speculation and made it difficult for the urban poor to access land. And that high population growth in Kampala and in Arua drive land transaction and urban expansion, where land is being subdivided into small pieces of land in order to accommodate the growing populations in Kampala and in Arua.
While access to resources and segregation are clearly issues that affect cities, it seems though we're going to need to develop a more nuanced understanding of spatial justice if we are to really intervene in a progressive way in African cities.
I've learned a lot, and that gives you that how the land, for example, is how marginalized people might not get their fair share on land if not investigated the problem, and later on if not the cases are not solved within particular important and significant public policies.
Through our understanding about urban development and the issues of justice in cities has given us and everybody who was involved the opportunity to be more comprehensive about the next steps, what is needed to do, how we have to address urban development in Africa, how we have to see the possibility of their own way.
For sure, the moments where I've learned the most are during exchanges with others, with the team members, other researchers, people on the ground, policymakers. It really is important to break the silos.
Use of the ODK tool in data collection, where we had questions on the tablets. It was a skill that I learned and I will always use that skill.
Most people don't know the importance of having illegal documents and are not really interested in knowing how important it is for one to have a land title or illegal document regarding the plots of land, simply because it takes quite a long time.
Despite the existence of institutions, laws and regulations in these countries, land markets and spatial qualities are highly unregulated, leading to severe deficits in public services and concerns.
I had the opportunity during the fieldwork in particular to confront myself as a woman as well as a researcher to a completely new reality before unknown to me.
Before we did the research, we had training sessions, and during these training sessions we had trial sessions whereby we had one-on-one encounter and then coming up with various objections that will come up from the community and how to deal with them before we go out to the community and collect the data. So I really learned a lot about teamwork and also being prepared for any day.
The claim for land for productive use, more specifically, depends on sociocultural factors that affect the self-determination of complex land market actors. People who are excluded, whether for socioeconomic or cultural reasons from the land market, thus lacking formal ownership of the land they occupy, are unable to use the land in ways that improve their well-being.
Development within the CBD, the well-planned, well developed with good services attached to them. But as you move away from the CBD, you realize that you find chunks and houses that are really not serviced very well. That has caused a mix and a complexity around access and usability of these services. And this is where you actually find low-income earners close to the wetlands that are really environmentally sensitive.
The organization around land allocation in Berbera, the power of self-organized groups in Kampala to decide on the fate of land seekers. And in addition to that, the multiplicity of land ownership and the imbalance of information dissemination that reflected the degree of inequalities experienced in these cities were some of the findings that stood out for me.
How the urban and the rural or the developing areas mix land pricing, the housing, service provision, and all these dynamics. This is something that it is not usually paid attention to, but the survey brought my attention to this very interesting fact.
What really impressed me in this project is the important role of the traditional clans in Somaliland cities. And I think for international consultants, it's very important to try to better understand these traditional forms of government in order to better support the urbanization process in these cities.
Some commonalities between the four cities that we studied, and one is that first of all, local governments don't have much land themselves. There's not much public land. At the same time, private land transactions are increasing enormously. This is driving up prices and increasing speculation, which makes it even more difficult for local governments to put in basic infrastructure to access the land for basic services and proper planning, for example.
Using Google Map, especially by the use of maps.me, which was kind of interesting, being my first experience in using that kind of technology.
Having hard-working and dedicated colleagues and supervisors, and the willingness of respondents to fully participate in the project was the most interesting.
Just how generous and open the people of Hargeysa are. They were very welcoming, particularly at the Hargeysa Cultural Center. Everything that we needed, I think they did their best to support us.
A real highlight for me was being invited with the research team in Hargeysa, Somaliland, to an evening with the president and his cabinet, where we got an opportunity to introduce some of our research. Fantastic experience.
The project gave me very many opportunities to visit different places that I had never visited, like Hargeysa in Somaliland and United Kingdom, where I attended the different workshops that were involved in the project.
It was very energizing talking to various people from different backgrounds and how they go about their business in Kampala, under the Kampala sun.
I also remember Arua very fondly for the wonderful time we had as a team working out how to collect the data we needed for the land transaction biographies. It was great to bring the whole group for that work package together, from Somaliland and from Uganda, from Kampala to Arua. Random passing strangers in the streets of Arua were accosted by our team, eager to test interview questions and techniques. In most cases, people were only too happy to talk and gave us valuable insights very early on into land markets, well before we'd actually planned to start collecting that data formally.
It was exciting having taken part in the research component on the complex land markets, which was first of its kind, and this could will form a basis on future kinds of researches. Thank you so much.
As with any research of this kind, the real joy is in working with, on the one hand, with old friends, particularly making new ones, and the collective experience offered by this kind of intensive investigation of an area that is of growing policy importance in one of the most rapidly urbanizing regions of the world.